All right, so the time is 12:30 Eastern, and we will be starting now. Let's start off with some music. All right, so that song is actually called Drag Queen, and it's by Chris Houseman. It's actually the first time I'm listening to it. Pasty Native suggested, and it actually sounds pretty good from what I heard. I'm going to give it a full listen afterwards and probably download it onto my phone. All right, so welcome to the second episode of the Rainbow Connection. I am Sean, and here's my co-host who will introduce himself.
Hello, I am the Pasty Native. Thank you all for joining us on the Beaver Politics Network for the Rainbow Connection.
Just before we get into what we're here for, I just want to quickly mention that the opinions posted in this or stated in this video doesn't necessarily represent the whole Beaver Politics. That doesn't mean that they don't support us. That just means that we all do have individual opinions. And yeah, anyway, so anything you want to mention before we get started? Or actually, here, we should introduce and tell people again what I said before, but we should tell people what we're here going to discuss today. So, do you want to go?
Sure. So today we're going to be breaking down the PCP's party's policy declaration, which is essentially what they hope to be able to accomplish if they get elected into government. A lot of it, at least for myself, fairly scary. Being someone who's both Indigenous and queer.
Yeah, and it like a lot of things. There is a tradition of authoritarian, fascist-leaning parties using language that sounds good. So it's kind of like the tempting the kids in your van with a candy kind of thing. So they're using a lot of these nice, big, welcoming words, which really have underlining meanings, which we're here to break down from our experience, as well as seeing the conservative, like Pierre Poilievre speaking and their actions based on their voting. We're taking that all into context while reviewing this. So we'll get started. So I'm going to get started here in the section that's called the Founding Principles. I'm not going to read them all. I'm just going to read the ones that that we feel were. Oh, you want to say something?
Can we start off with democratic reform and the free votes?
Okay. If you want to start there, yeah, sure. Which one is that one?
Number 10.
All right, number 10. We'll start off at number 10, which is titled Free Votes. You want me to read it and then you go?
Sure.
Okay. So it says here, the Conservative Party believes in restoring democratic accountability into the House of Commons by allowing free votes. All votes should be free except for the budget, main estimates, and core government initiatives, which is basically anything they want. And then on issues of moral conscience, such as abortion, the definition of marriage, euthanasia, the Conservative Party acknowledges the diversity and deeply held personal convictions among individual party members and the right of members of Parliament to adopt positions in consultation with their constituents and to vote freely. Bum, bum, bum.
The wording of that just makes me think that they're going to try to overturn marriage equality and revoke women's rights to choose, which affects everyone with a uterus, not just women.
Yeah, and I think we can assume that they would take it further than that as well, because though they do mention the definition of marriage and abortion and euthanasia, just the fact that right now they're trying to well, I mean, not across Canada, but some conservative parties in provinces are trying to control trans individuals, specifically trans kids. And, you know, I could assume that they would be using this to force their heterosexual normativity or heteronormativity on all of Canadians, which isn't. It also goes against some of their other policies, which we'll talk about as well. But I mean, like, anyways, sorry, I don't have. Do I have notes on this? I did not. That was one of them I forgot.
It
But
is pretty self-explanatory when you read it, and if you know like the history behind the conservatives and their feelings when it comes to conversion therapy or women's rights to choose, all of that. I just it's something that is very much needs to know. People need to know about because if they get into parliament, they will implement this,
yeah, yeah,
which means they can go after Indigenous people's rights. They can go after 2S LGBTQIA rights.
yeah. No, and like I said, this is the you know, tempting the kid with candy into your van type of thing. They're using something that sounds good. Oh, free votes, of course. It's a democracy. We should all vote our conscience. But you know, they're using it in a devious way. They're using it to trick people into like, oh, well, they're, you know, they're going to do good things with these free votes because, you know, and just use that to overturn, like it says right here, definition of marriage and abortion. So they full well know that almost every single member of the Conservative Party are against abortion and, you know, marriage equality. I mean, there might be some like one or two outliners, but, you know, like if they won a majority, which I really, really hope they don't, and it doesn't look like they would, but they definitely would use the free votes to their advantage to ram through all these authoritarian laws or bills.
Yeah.
Can we? I would like to go back just to the principles at the top. Is that okay?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Only because it highlights some of the things that again, tempting people in with a, you know, a nice big candy type of thing. So a couple of things here that I've highlighted in the founding principles. So they have here a belief in the value and dignity for all human life. Sounds great. It's good. However, it's whatever they define human life is. So for them, human life may start at conception, which a lot of them have said, and you can hear down south a lot with our American. I know I'm not going to call them cousins anymore. We divorced them, our American exes. Then it goes here, a belief in the equality of all Canadians. Again, that sounds pretty good, but I mean, if you take a look at their voting history and, well, I mean, mostly what Pierre Poilievre says, I mean, equality for people that they like. You know, they don't like trans people, so they don't think that they deserve equality.
Equality for people that think and look like them.
Yes. Well, yes, that is true. However, I don't want to be disingenuous by not mentioning the fact that their caucus does have people of different cultures and religions.
Okay.
Now it wants me to do the puzzle, so just give me a moment here. It's the first time I've ever had to do this. Anyways. All right, so, and if I go too fast or like rush past, if you want to say something, just stop me. I'm sorry.
It's okay.
Okay. So the next thing I highlighted here was a belief in the freedom of the individual, including freedom of speech, worship, assembly, and association. So again, this sounds good, but what do they qualify? What individuals to them qualify for this freedom? These are the principles. I think that we need to keep these in mind going through the rest of their points here in their declaration, because you have to continue going back to what their foundation is. And their foundation is, like Pasty Native said, people that they include in their community, and not everyone is invited to their community.
Not everybody may agree with me with this, but it's very much the colonizer mindset.
Yeah, no, and that's true. It is. It is. So I have something else here highlighted. It's the freedom of individual Canadians to pursue their enlightened and legitimate self-interests within a free, competitive economy. So I just want to highlight two things there. First of all, again, it sounds good that they want individual Canadians to pursue their enlightened and legitimate self-interest. But I think you have to pay attention to the word legitimate, because who qualifies what is legitimate? Again, I think they only consider heteronormativity as legitimate. Then you have to take a look and see within a free competitive economy. So that's kind of like saying that society really should be like just everything should be a free market. Everything,
That kind of goes into play with them wanting to privatize everything as well.
Yeah, exactly. So I think within a free competitive economy, I'm not fully, I'm more of a socialist, so I'm kind of worried about that to begin with. But putting that into the same sentence of freedom for individual Canadians really just speaks to the fact that they just believe everything just should cost money. All right, so now, no, I have a couple more here. No, we don't need to go into those. Those were the main ones I wanted to. Is there a point that you wanted to go to next, or should we just continue in chronological order?
I know the one that we talked about last night, starting off on, was number 18,
Okay.
free speech.
Okay. While I'm doing this, I just want to remind people that, remember, tapping is clapping and sharing is caring. And you could also click the heart to subscribe. All right, 18.
You can join the team by clicking the heart. If you press the little star beside the comment box, you can subscribe for less than $5 a month.
Okay, so point 18, which is free speech. So the Conservative Party recognizes that that open dialogue is the basis of any democratic society. For this reason, the Conservative Party supports freedom of speech for all Canadians. The Conservative Party will promote policies and legislation designed to protect freedom of expression, in quotations it's speech, in the public square, including media and internal platforms in accordance with the Charter of Rights and Freedoms. Now, this is the part I highlighted. We will safeguard Canadians' rights to create and access content on the internet without government-sanctioned censorship and nullify unconstitutional restrictions.
And as we discussed here in Canada, we have freedom of speech. The only things you can't do are hate speech, and I forget the other one that you said.
Well, there's hate speech. That's basically the thing. I don't think I said anything. Okay. Not that I remember, but yeah, no. The only thing, and we have freedom of expression, which, like here, it says in quotation speech, and the only thing you're not allowed is hate speech. So, from the sound of this, like Pasty said, it sounds like they just want to allow people to promote hate speech, which again is kind of got the United States in the mess where they're at. We can go on a whole show about freedom of speech, but I mean, freedom of speech that includes hate speech, it just allows for the whole mess that the USA is right now. Oh, and I do remember, I have to choose my words carefully for this. So hate speech as well as threatening harm to other people. That is not allowed. And of course, they will not continue to allow that. Well, actually, I don't know. I mean, this is pretty broad. But I mean, it says unconstitutional restrictions, which, what is unconstitutional restrictions? So that's all I had about that. Oh, we can go on to the next one because it kind of fits into
Yeah,
that.
the one right under it, number 19, which is the protecting free speech on Canadian campuses, which is also terrifying.
You want me to read it?
Sure. I suck at I will stumble over my words. I've got a really bad stutter if I'm not focusing really hard on what I'm saying.
It's okay, no problem. I just asked because I don't want to be over talking you. I want, we both have equal space here. All right, so protecting free speech on Canadian campuses. So the Conservative Party of Canada will incentivize federal funding to Canadian universities, which is like incentivizing, basically meaning universities need to do what they say if they want funding, that have implemented Chicago principles, which I didn't look that up, which I should have. But such a mandate would mean schools must abide by and protect freedom of expression as it is described in the Charter. Failure to protect free expression would result in losing federal funding. Now, if we take point 18 and put it together with point 19, to me, this seems like they want to allow hate groups on campus. So, like, again, I have to watch my language, but like anti-LGBTQI or anti-2S LGBTQIA plus groups, and religious groups that also promote that type of stuff. So basically, this is limiting university campuses from protecting their own students. And if they don't, then they just lose funding, which is exactly what Trump is doing in the States. He has limited universities. I think I know one thing for sure: if they protest, they will lose funding. And I think it was University of Columbia. Again, don't quote me on that. That lost $175 million in funding because Trump didn't like what they did. Do you have anything to add?
I'm looking at what Chicago.
The Chicago principles.
So, following a series of incidents in 2014 where students at various schools sought to prevent controversial comment, basically speakers, and emphasize on freedom of speech. So yeah, it's pretty much what we were thinking.
Okay. Yeah. So, like I said, I mean, I'm all for people allowing to have their own thoughts, and and like privately, if you want to share with your friends and or family that you don't like this type of person or that type of person, that's fine. But as soon as it
displays of it becomes harmful.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's scientifically proven in the human sciences that promotion of hate speech leads to more people unaliving, either unaliving themselves or being unalived by radicalized people, basically. Yeah. All right. So my I don't have OCD, but for lack of better words, my OCD is kind of wanting me to go back to number one. Can we go back to number one?
Yes.
I'm sorry. I don't know. I just have this strong urge of like, Actually, it's not number one either. Number one was the founding principles. I was number 3, which is public service excellence, which at the title doesn't sound like very much. But I highlighted a section here that says, we believe the government should build upon the whistleblowing protection legislation to ensure that those who expose corruption and wrongdoing are protected from reprisal. Now, that doesn't sound like it directly affects our community, but I wanted to point out the fact that previous conservative governments, such as Stephen Harper, had legislated that parliamentary staff, amongst others, weren't allowed to testify. So if you want to like extrapolate or take that out of a more broader context, any type of like wrongdoing, I guess, within the government. I mean, it sounds like they want to stop it, but it's very it's very concerning, the fact that they're promoting transparency, but from what they've done in the past, they try and block transparency as much as possible. You have anything to add?
Ah, no,
No?
because if you're a whistleblower, you can't really do anything to seek justice because of the ruling that
Yeah.
Stephen Harper put in place.
All right. So, did you what the next number you have?
The next one was 20.
Okay, I have 10. Oh no, we already did 10. So the next one after that was I highlighted 14, which is independent judiciary. So the Conservative Party believes that an independent judiciary is a vital safeguard of the freedom of Canadians against the exercise of arbitrary power by the state, which contradicts what they said about free votes on marriage equality and abortion. So they said it's a vital safeguard. However, they're the ones who want to, use the free votes to overturn many social issues that Canadians hold dear.
Yeah.
Yeah, and goes to the next point as well, 15, Parliament, the courts, and the Charter. So it says the Conservative Party believes that Parliament, rather than the courts, is the law-making body of Canada. And then it goes to say, we reaffirm the legitimacy of the entire Charter of Rights and Freedoms, including Section 33, which is the notwithstanding clause. So I have here, last April 29th, 2024, Pierre had said that he was going to implement laws that, by using whatever tools the Constitution allows, which basically means that if a law that is the court has found unconstitutional, he will use the notwithstanding clause to force through. Which is kind of like what Trump is doing too down south. He's just steamrolling the Constitution and pushing through what he wants, basically.
The next point in this too is actually what I was looking for last night when we were talking.
Oh.
We support legislation that removes authority from the Human Rights Commission and the Human Rights Tribunal to regulate, receive, investigate, or adjudicate complaints related to Section 13 of the Human Rights Act, which is anything involving online discrimination and hate speech.
Yeah, exactly. So like I said before, it's that whole bait and switch type of thing. Look at this nice language that supports rights, but then if you look deeper, it's more insidious. All right, so the next point after that I have is
unfair hiring practices, because we've done 18 and 19.
Yes, you are right. Thank you for. I was going to go 18, but yeah, we talked about that as well. So unfair hiring practices. I put here highlighted: a Conservative government will restore merit in Canada's innovation. So I have here that the only thing. Basically, that talks about removing DEI.
Yeah.
So, no DEI practices, which again just protects minorities. It doesn't necessarily force companies to hire minorities, but it protects companies or it protects like people applying for jobs or promotions from being, from a company using the fact that they may be, for instance, a woman who might have children. That's under that as well, because pregnant women are protected as well, pregnant individuals. as in general. But yeah, and that again is like Trump. Trump has removed DEI, and he's been taking action against companies who
That still use it.
yeah, exactly. Like I think Costco is being sued by different levels of government for continuing with their DEI practices.
Yeah. Okay, so the next one I wanted to talk about is protecting workers, those in unions, political or public sectors, or in self-regulated trades or professions. And it says the Conservative Party does not support forced political, cultural, or ideological training for any kind of precondition of employment or practice. Those employed in the public sector unions or self-regulated trades and professions should not be forced to make. I can't read that word. My dyslexia is not working properly.
Okay, what was that again? That was under
22.
22. Okay, those employed in the public sector unions or self-regulated trades/professions should not be forced to make affirmations or participate in ideological programs as a condition of their employment or practice.
Yeah. Which removes essentially safeguards to ensure that you don't have racism and bigotry within a workplace.
Yeah, or even misogyny.
Or even misogyny, yeah.
Like we've all heard of, like, I mean, well, through TV series and movies, and I'm pretty sure almost every woman out there, anyways, has some sort of story of being like, again, I have to watch my words, but essayed in the workplace. And I mean, depending on what level, some might require the employee to go get sensitivity training, which to me, that sounds like this is what they want to get rid of and part of.
Yeah.
Not
to mention the courses that are for dealing with clients that may be disabled.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah.
Which is stupid. Oh. I'm trying really hard to bite my tongue and not get mad.
No, I understand. I understand. Yeah, we do have to be careful what we say, because this is not just, we share this network with a bunch of other amazing people, and we don't want to get a strike, and we all suffer in the end. I actually just want to take a moment just to remind everyone, sharing is caring and tapping is clapping. And you can always subscribe for less than $5 a month by hitting that orange heart above.
No, the subscribe button's down at the bottom. That's to join the team.
Oh, really?
Subscribe button's beside where we type into the comments.
Oh, okay.
There's a little star and...
Okay, well, I stand corrected. I did subscribe myself, but I guess I just forgot how.
Yeah, because that's subscribe. That's the join the team. This subscribing gives you access to amazing stickers that you can use within the comments.
Yep.
Whereas joining the team gives you notifications when there's new videos and when there's lives.
Yep. Actually, I see down here at the bottom of my screen too, there's a link, get info on Canada's federal election. I haven't clicked on that yet.
That allows you to register to vote.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Oh, well, finally, TikTok seems to be doing something right. Well, I'm not talking bad about TikTok. I love you, TikTok. But yes, no, that's good at least. I can certainly respect that. All right. So the next point that I have is under supporting families. I have a couple of lines here highlighted. So not to take things out of context, I'll read the whole line. So the Conservative Party recognizes the need to support families and children. We believe that Canada's decreasing birth rate needs to be addressed by reducing the barriers facing those wishing to start and grow their families, thus ensuring the well-being and long-term sustainability of our communities.
Okay, can I just say something? Because I kind of laugh at that.
Yeah,
Because the whole reason why our birth rate is going down is because there's millennials and Gen Z that see the state of the world and just go, no, I'm not doing it.
not to mention how expensive is to live, Jake, to rent a one-bedroom apartment in my area of Canada is like at least $1,200 a month. That does not include electricity or any other like essential needs.
So for me and my three boys here in the capital, if we were to move away from my parents currently, being on single income home, we'd be paying about $3,000 for the size of an apartment that I need because I need up to four bedrooms.
Yeah,
Because I've got three wonderfully neurodivergent children that are all at different ends of the spectrum, so they all piss each other off. It's wonderful.
yeah, yeah. And I also want to highlight like so they recognize the need to support families, and they also use like ensuring the well-being and long-term sustainability of our communities. Again, I stop and pause and I think, what do they mean by families? Is that a man and a woman and their children, or do they recognize like two dads and a child, or two moms and a child, or two non-binaries and a child? Because we've been seeing a lot more of that. A lot more Gen Z people identify as non-binary than any other generation. Um, and then the next line says, we support tax fairness for families by eliminating inequities between single and dual income families. Again, the first thing I think of is what do they consider families? Because if they do use that free vote that we talked about earlier to overturn marriage equality, then two same-sex partners wouldn't be considered a family under their regime. What else? So I have here, then we support the elimination of all tax disadvantages to families, including those who care for children at home. This recognizes the economic value of stay-at-home parents and supports the introduction of tax fairness measures such as income splitting for couples with children. Again, what do they consider a family, and what is a legitimate couple to them? And if your family, if one parent has a great job and the other parent can stay home, that's great. You know what? That's good. However,
It's almost impossible to get
it is.
anywhere with that.
Yeah,
You need two incomes currently to be able to survive properly in Canada, especially when raising a family.
exactly. Yeah. And I kind of have a feeling that, though they do use stay-at-home parents, I kind of feel like they really wanted to change the word parents to stay-at-home mom.
Somebody has a question in the comments. So
All
as
right.
you're respectful, go ahead and type it out.
Yeah, you could go ahead and type it out. And if it's question in good faith and respectful, we'll be more than happy to answer it. Oh yeah, and see, Sasquatch says, I had two incomes and I struggled with no kiddos or dependents. Exactly. So they're going to be, we saw in 1930s Germany that one of the huge initiatives was returning to the traditional family values with, again, a man and a woman and children. And they're going to use this like low birth rate, which Mr. Mustache Man used as well, said as well, the low birth rate needs to be changed, and use that to push through legislation that will basically ignore 2S LGBTQA plus people. Right? Okay, well, just a dude from okay, just a dude Edmonton. We'll answer your question if you type it out. There's no problem. We're not calling up people right now, but we will later on in the show. But right now we're just going through the points and want to go get through this before we start exploring with our guests.
Yeah, sorry, this is the only way I can keep him from messing with my phone right now.
That is okay. My cat too, before, as you saw, was demanding attention, and like, you can't really argue with cats because you'll never win.
No.
Okay, well, we'll continue on, and just a dude, Edmonton. When you're ready, just type it in. I haven't been paying much attention to the comments at the moment, but of course, Pasty, if you see it, just stop me. If I see it, we'll go from there. Oh, I have typed it. Oh.
I don't see it. Did it get filtered?
Okay, well, if it was filtered, it could have been because you may have used language that was not
Allowed.
allowed. I'll go back a little bit, scroll, but I mean, I don't see.
I see the one I have a question for you both, and then nothing else until I have typed it.
Yeah. Okay, well, let's continue for the moment, and when it comes up, we'll answer it. All right. Yeah, we went over supporting families. Did you have anything to add?
No, well, you pretty much covered all of it. The fact that they full out stated in the free votes that they have the right to vote on what the idea of marriage is in Canada could very much indicate the fact that they want to revoke same-sex marriage acts, which then would put us back to where we were before 2005 when gay couples couldn't adopt children or
Various
stuff
reasons.
like that.
Yeah, and that's also too another thing too. They can fully use that free vote to ram through legislation about not allowing 2S LGBTQIA people from adopting. I mean, I know there are tons of conservatives that are, pro man and woman family only type of thing. So, all right, the next point, then we jump all the way down to health, which is point 78. Of course, there's lots of other issues with stuff in the middle, but nothing that we could see that would pertain to the 2S LGBTQIA plus family or community. But of course, if other people see something that we don't, you're welcome to stay around and come join the panel at the end or near the end, or even write the question. So I'll read, and then you could start by commenting. Does that sound good to you?
Yeah.
Okay, so point 78, healthcare. The Conservative Party believes all Canadians should have reasonable access to timely, quality healthcare services, regardless of their ability to pay. Then I have highlighted here flexibility for the provinces and territories to implement health services should include a balance of public and private options. I think another point here that I have highlighted is the Conservative Party supports conscious rights of doctors, nurses, and others to refuse to participate in or refer their patients for abortion, assisted suicide, or euthanasia. Oh, I said the S word.
Oh, okay.
So assisted. Yeah, we'll just skip that word. But I said it. I said it. I apologize, TikTok. Please don't hate me. Yeah, so you could start us off. You want?
Okay, so them being able to deny based on personal belief also would lead into them being able to deny people that are a part of the 2S LGBTQI community for things such as gender affirming care, which currently, right now, legally, they are not allowed to deny a person to be referred to doctors to be able to get the gender affirming care. Um, Same with a woman's right to tie her tubes. They're legally in Canada not allowed to tell you no. So with a lot of this, with the words, the way that it's worded, could possibly lead into other things.
Yeah. So, like with the first part I highlighted, where it says should have reasonable access to timely, quality healthcare services. Again,
That
who is?
the second part.
Oh no, that's okay. That's fine. It's fine. But like I highlighted reason because again, who is who is qualifying what reasonable is? Like currently, a lot of medical associations, professional organizations are the ones who are, qualifying what reasonable is. Whereas we're going to get down to it, but there is a section in here that talks about what it basically translate to. The government is the one that qualifies these terms and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And then with the flexibility for provinces and territories and all that to include like a balance of public and private delivery options. So I highlighted that for two reasons. First of all, it shows that they are pro private healthcare, which I've heard a bunch of people say, well, you know what, if we still have public, who cares if we have private? The rich people can go to private, but what they don't realize is that we have a doctors and nurse shortage across Canada. I don't think there's one province that isn't short of doctors and nurses. And what's exasperating that issue is the private sector taking away these doctors and nurses into the private sector. So get rid of the private sector. All these doctors and nurses can come back to the public. And then all the people, they go, oh, well, they'll go to the States. You know what? If they want to move to the Trumpster fire down south, the way it is right now, go right ahead.
They can go for it.
Arrivederci. See you next time. Bye, Felicia.
There's actually quite a few doctors that specialized in gender affirming care that are looking into coming to Canada.
Yeah, exactly. And I and my friends, like I have a couple of medical nurses and not nurses, friends in the medical field down south who have asked me.
2 seconds. I need to go play referee with
That's
the kids.
fine. No
They're
problem.
Outside
I will take over. So yeah, I have a couple of friends down south who've asked about moving up here and like how, what's the nurse and doctor situation. And like well, they don't speak French, so I'm in Quebec, so life's restricted for us. Oh, okay, because I said that stupid word. I apologize. That actually makes me a little upset. Anyways, as I was saying, I live in Quebec, so of course I don't encourage my friends to come here because, like, you'd have to do all the medical exams in French. Though I would like them to move here, and if they want to take French courses, they could by all means do that. But it's just going to add a lot more obstacles to getting to a job here in Quebec in the medical field. I just wanted to mention, I just got a warning about our live being restricted to some audiences, which is fine. I thought I had chosen like the over 18 anyways, but that doesn't help us with the FYP. So if at any point during the live, if there's a good time to tap and share is right now to try and help us get back out there, spread the word to other people. Thank you, Red Mike.
The TikTok shop too tends to help in the comments.
Yeah, the more you talk and the more conversations that are going in the comments, that helps you
Thank you guys for all the gifts.
Yes, thank you for the gifts. Thank you very much. I also just want to say, if you don't have anyone to share with, all you do is just press the share and the copy link, and TikTok registers that as a share. You don't even have to put the link anywhere else. Just click on copy link and that registers as a share. All right. So I think we had gone over all the points um, for that section, unless you have any other um, added add
Did you
anything.
go over the one addressing kids in the mental health section?
Oh, well, we were only on healthcare. We haven't gone down to that yet.
Okay.
The next point I have is 80 wellness promotion, which I don't think we talked about last night, but this morning I read it, and um, so I'll just read that out. The Conservative Party recognizes the importance of wellness promotion and disease prevention in enhancing the health of Canadians and contributing to the sustainability of our healthcare system. Again, that sounds great, but what do they consider, wellness promotion or disease prevention? Like part of disease prevention from 2S LGBTQIA is STI prevention.
Yeah, and
And
safe sex education.
yeah, exactly. And if we look down south and also to past conservative governments, we know that they're not really pro sexual education in schools. Um, they're more about abstinence, and I'm sorry, but abstinence promotion does not work. That has been proven over and over and over again through the decades. But that's why I highlighted, because that wellness promotion could most likely not single out, but segregate heterosexuals from the alphabet mafia, and yeah, so that is a concern for us. Next, I have protecting at-risk workers, which again I don't think we talked about last night.
Yeah, we did.
Hmm?
We did.
We did? Okay. So I highlighted a specific part here. I'll read it, then you can start talking about it if you want.
Okay.
This right should transcend the privacy rights of the infected individual. I'll read the whole thing to put that in context. The Conservative Party believes that the government should work with the provinces and territories to get a nationwide agreement to amend labor codes to provide at-risk workers such as prison guards, law enforcement officials, and healthcare workers, and their physician or other medical professionals the right to know when they have been exposed to infectious diseases, aka HIV. This right should transcend the privacy rights of the infected individual and should be analogous, I'm not pronouncing that correct, to workers' rights with respect to hazardous material exposure. So, did you?
In like some ways, yes, it's a good idea as long as it's not weaponized.
And
And
we all
that
know
would be my
conservatives like to
concern.
weaponize.
And that would be my main concern of weaponizing, and like especially if someone's out openly at work, them being targeted and it being used as a weapon
Mm-hmm.
isn't okay. The idea though that, if they're in a situation where, say, they're dealing with someone who may be positive with either of the viruses, uh, if the officer is not aware and say they get cut and the other person's bleeding, I can understand there where it's good, but overall it just seems like it's something they're going to use to demonize the LGBTQ community with in workplaces.
Yeah, because when I see the phrase or the part that says exposed to infectious diseases, I mean, at first,
At risk.
yeah, exactly.
Quotation marks.
And there's also a stigma too, because a lot that also can translate into like I don't know, like let's say a queer person has been, I don't know, hurt, is on the ground bleeding, and the ambulance comes, and
They decide to go no.
yeah, no, this person could have HIV. I'm not touching the person. The way I think we should go about that is, which I think what they do now is just put safeties in place. You know, wearing gloves, wearing a mask where where possible or if needed, or stuff like that. But people, doctors and healthcare and nurses and dentists, they all do wear gloves now anyways, and also
And the
education.
World
Hmm?
Health Organization also has for medical personnel a database that's worldwide. That if you have a confirmed diagnosis, you're unconscious. As long as they know who you are, they can access that
Oh
diagnosis.
yeah, I didn't know that.
Yeah, uh, it was implemented, I think, back in 2015.
Okay.
They also have medication that help prevent against contracting the diseases,
Yeah.
which are very easy to access.
Yeah. Exactly. But again, it comes back to weaponizing as well, because this, like, we're talking from a point of view of, like, like HIV, but it could also be like, let's say, well, it says law enforcement and officials here. For instance, how can this translate to one partner not wanting to work with the other partner, knowing that the other partner may be 2S LGBTQIA, and the stigma, especially it was in the 80s, if you were gay, it was automatically assumed that you had HIV. It was called the gay disease, and that type of stigma um, was well into. Well, even now, like in 2016, I had gone to Tennessee, Nashville, for a rugby tournament. Um, it was the Bingham Cup, which is I think it's the largest um, 2S LGBTQ inclusive rugby tournament in the world. Anyways, I had got kicked in the face, and I had gone to the hospital, and the doctor had asked what we were doing, and I don't know, just being a Canadian, I was just like, oh, we were at a gay rugby tournament, and he goes, oh, so you have HIV,
Duh.
and I'm like, no, I don't.
Wow.
And that was in 2016.
Wow.
So
Jesus.
it these things are scary when they talk about them. Like, I mean, again, we keep on saying, like, these words, they sound great on the surface, but you really have to look deeper, and especially with the history of the Conservative Party and other right leaning slash authoritarian slash fascist leaning parties. They use these things to weaponize against people and communities that they do not deem appropriate. All right, so that's, I think, all the points I had for that. We want to move on. You have any?
Sure. I believe it was 86 is the next one.
Oh, I also highlighted 82.
Oh, okay. Go back to 82 then.
Sorry, uh, because, like, I noticed this morning that just thinking about it. Like, anyways, I'll explain. So, health sciences research, development, and innovation. The Conservative Party recognizes the importance of health sciences research in enhancing the health of Canadians as a dynamic economic sector in its own right. So then it later on says, we encourage all governments to foster an environment that encourages health sciences research and development on new healthcare technologies, which in part can be achieved through the provision of an adequate level of federal funding. So, on the surface, again, that sounds great. However, adding economic in there, to me, that sounds like
Privatization.
well, privatization, yes, but also funding research that is profit driven. So
Yeah.
if we take the trans community, for instance, trans people only represent 1% of the Canadian population.
Well, 1% of the world's population.
1% of the world's population. But like that, in Canada too, that's not a huge population. So are they going to fund research for trans health? That's not economically profitable. So whoop, out the door. That's why I highlighted it, because I mean, not just trans. I mean, for instance, we can see in the States that Trump has stopped all HIV research.
Yeah.
or funding HIV research. He didn't stop it necessarily; he stopped funding it, and as well as HIV prevention research, which is important. I mean, anyways, that's all I have to say to that. I mean, adding profitability into that just equals disaster for communities that aren't, the majority.
Yeah.
All right. Do you have anything to add?
No.
And then I also sorry.
We've kind of covered all for that one. I find.
And I also highlighted pharmaceuticals, which is the next one, 83.
Okay. I didn't have that
Because,
one
hmm?
down, but I will listen.
Well, I highlighted here, we believe that part of the balance is achieving through adhering to the international standard of 20 years patent protection of for pharmaceuticals. So, excuse me, the reason why I bring that up is because I think, now don't quote me on this, I think it's 5 years in Canada for medication is the patent protection. And then after 5 years, all these generic drugs come out that do the same thing, which is good for many Canadians who can't afford even just rent right now, and they need prescriptions. They use
prescription.
they use generic prescriptions. And to be honest, I remember asking about PrEP. Now, PrEP is a HIV prevented drug that's been out
We're
for.
not supposed to say the names of the exact drugs because it can get us flagged.
I didn't. PrEP is not the word. PrEP is the type. It's not the pharmaceutical name, not the brand name. I don't even remember the brand name now. Anyways,
Neither can I. All I know that it's PrEP.
yeah. However, I know that just inquiring about it, because when I worked at a LGBTQ center, I needed to have knowledge about this stuff, and just asking like how much it was and all that. Back in like 2015, 2016, the PrEP was like, if you didn't have insurance, it was $1,200 a month.
Oh.
Yeah.
Ow! Holy shit!
So as much as a one-bedroom apartment goes for right now. Anyways, so but then because Canada, I think again it has 5 years patent. In 2020, I think you can get PrEP for a whole month now for $25, like a generic version for $25 a
I
month.
also know most government assistance throughout the provinces won't cover name brand medication. They'll only cover generic brands.
Yep, that's true.
So that's the case here in Ontario.
Mm-hmm. Yep, and like my private insurance will not cover, like you said, cannot cover some brand name. Like I've had to. There's a prescription that I have that I don't know. The insurance just changed all of a sudden, and one month I go to get the prescription, and it was all of a sudden like $75, and I'm like, why? And they go, oh well, the insurance stopped covering that brand name. They want to encourage generic. So I said, well, okay, well, just give me the generic. So I got the generic, and it costs me $6 a month. So that's basically why I highlighted it, because prescriptions, especially with the trans community, especially with the other letters of the alphabet mafia, well, particular gay and bi men, pharmaceuticals are very important, not only for preventive health, but for treatment as well.
Yeah, and I know, like with my tea, for anything other than the needle, it even the needle it costs over $100 for
Oh.
it for a 3 month supply. But for like the topical versions where you don't have to inject yourself with anything, you're looking at $200 to $300 a month for your tea.
Yeah, yeah, it's not cheap.
And most private health care in Ontario will not cover it,
Mhm.
regardless of what it's for. I've gone back and forth fighting with the Ministry of Health to get mine covered.
Mhm.
because they'll cover it for so long and then jump back and go, well, no, the only people that are allowed it are people that have low morning testosterone that are physically born men. And I'm
Yeah.
like, what?
Yeah.
In technicality, I have low morning testosterone.
Yeah, I mean, and like I can see more insurance companies doing stuff like that under a conservative government.
Oh, yeah. All right. Shall we jump down to 86 now?
Um, well, I thought we talked about 85, just above that, because kind of ties into the two, but like it says assisted human reproduction and related research. Um,
That also scares me because that just puts a whole lot of like the mustache man into my brain.
yes, that. Yep. But also, again, we know that to the Conservative Party, um, trans men don't exist and therefore can't have children.
Pierre Polyev has made that very clear
Yep.
in multiple interviews that he has done.
Yep. All right. So that's all I really wanted to mention about that because that's the only thing that comes to mind when reading through that. So yeah, we can go to 86. Do you want? I'll read and then you can comment.
Sure.
I ask because I just want to make sure that.
Yeah, no, that makes me feel better because I tend to. The reason why I stopped the last time I tried to read is because noticed I was gonna start stuttering, and I'm like, no, let's please not do that.
And again, like if I don't want to overpower. Part of like when I'm anxious or whatever, I just verbal diarrhea. So please, at any point you think I am over talking you, just say Sean.
Alrighty.
So point 86, abortion legislation. A conservative government will not support any legislation to regulate abortion.
Just gonna state this: they do contradict this later on in the policies.
Yep.
But the fact that they're not willing to even talk about where their stance is, is kind of concerning.
But as I don't think we said specifically this, but what I've heard a lot of left-leaning Canadians say, abortion is what? Health care.
It is. That is exactly what it is. It is healthcare. And there are multiple different reasons for someone to access an abortion.
Exactly.
Going into a little bit of my own personal thing, I've had one because I had to choose between my 3 living children or it killing me.
Yeah.
I very much support a person's right to choose. And it's not just women that are affected by that. It's anybody who owns a uterus.
Yep. Exactly. Yep. All right. So then we go to 88, mental health. So the Conservative Party acknowledges that health care includes mental illness and developmental disabilities, and that all levels of government act within their areas of responsibility to ensure research, public awareness, timely assessment, treatment, and support of individuals and families impacted by mental illness and developmental disabilities.
That sounds great and wonderful.
Yeah.
I don't believe it.
Well, if we just take a look down south, they are labeling transgender as mental health.
Yeah.
We can see on Facebook's new policies that people are allowed.
Can I stop you for just a second? So, in technicality, being trans, yes, does have a part to do with mental health. You have to go see multiple psychiatrists and counselors and get a formal diagnosis of gender dysphoric disorder before you can access gender affirming care, which is the treatment for gender dysphoria. I have no idea what just happened. Why did I switch sides?
Yeah. Sorry. That's why I was giving the face, not because of what you were saying. I don't know what happened. It just flipped us. and something popped up and moved away. So can
I don't know how to move it back.
it doesn't matter. I just hope that it. I don't know.
That threw me off in the middle of talking.
Yep. So anyway, sorry.
Okay. So gender dysphoria is classified in the DSM as a mental health
Okay.
issue. The only way you can access gender affirming care, which is the treatment for said mental health disorder, is gender affirming care. But it is classified in the DSM 5 as a mental health disorder.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. And I wanted to add, like, if we look at, I know Facebook isn't a government body or whatever, but Facebook now allows people to call people who are a member of the 2S LGBTQIA community mentally, not mentally unstable, like mental. You're allowed to label it as mental illness.
Yeah.
Um,
Whereas I don't like using mental illness, I like looking at mental health, which is how the DSM has even changed their own wording into
Yeah.
dealing with mental health disorders.
Yeah.
'Cause it's not a mental illness, it's a mental health disorder.
Exactly. And I mean, and with this, I mean, great. Yes, they're putting a spotlight on mental health, which one, the Conservative Party has not really ever been known for their.
It's the question of what are they going to see as appropriate treatments?
That's true. Yeah. And actually, do you want to bring up? I think we discussed last night about something about that too.
Back in 2020, when Canada was looking to make conversion therapy illegal, thankfully the bill did get passed, but the entirety, like 100% of the Conservative Party, including Pierre Poilievre, voted to keep it and keep it legal.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
To allow conversion camps and conversion therapies, which are torture to the 2S LGBTQIA people for just being who they are.
Yeah. And I think that's probably a topic we're going to talk about for a future episode, because we can fill up the whole 2 hours just about that. But yeah, that is certainly concerning, because we know with statistics that people that undergo conversion therapy, on top of already members of the 2S LGBTQI already having higher rates of self-unaliving, after conversion therapy, the rate jumps even more.
Yep.
So
I'm thankful my father wanted to send me to one of those camps. My mother wouldn't allow it, and I'm so thankful for it. So shall we move to 89?
Yep. I'll read that, and then you can start off the topic about that. So the Conservative Party supports. Oh, actually, I'll read this. Maternal health. The Conservative Party supports maternal and child health care initiatives designed to improve and protect women's and children's health, to reduce the maternal death during pregnancy and delivery. The focus will be to ensure provision of the necessities of life, clean water, appropriate nutrition, inoculations, basic medical care, and training of healthcare workers to care for women, and to deliver babies.
Okay, so I just want to specify that in this, what the Conservatives are referring to are cisgendered women that were born with double X chromosomes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And the last part says, again, they bring up abortion. Abortion should be explicitly excluded from Canada's maternal and child health program, which just shows they're anti-abortion. Like when Pierre Poilievre says we are not anti-abortion, he is a Pinocchio, and his nose should be growing like a foot a second. You know, I mean, he'll be poking out people's eyes in the crowd, like. Yeah, yep. I that makes me so mad. I'm sorry. This debate was going on probably even earlier, but the debate was going on in the 50s and 60s and 70s, and it's in the past. Let's move on. If you don't want an abortion, don't
Don't get
have
one.
one.
It's the whole point is you're supposed to be able to choose.
Exactly. They talk about body autonomy in here as well. Part of body autonomy is women, that includes trans women or non-binary people who have AFAB parts. Is that the right thing to say?
I just say owns a uterus.
Okay. A person who owns a uterus, body autonomy means they have control over their uterus. Like,
Yeah.
that's not like math or rocket science.
No,
I say math because
no,
I'm bad at
not.
math, but yeah.
Alright, so shall we move on to protecting children's mental health, mental and physical health?
Yes. So a conservative government will protect children by prohibiting life-altering medicinal or surgical interventions on minors under 18 to treat gender confusion or dysphoria, and to encourage positive mental and physical health support for all Canadians suffering from gender dysphoria and related mental health challenges.
Okay, so I got a whole thing on this. So legally,
Right.
across the world, someone under the age of 18 is not allowed to access anything other than puberty blockers, which have no long-lasting negative effects. They're used on cisgendered children that enter puberty too early, to deal with acne, menstrual pains.
Mm-hmm.
But this whole ideology that the conservatives are putting through that children under the age of 18 are getting surgeries. No, it is illegal across the world in regards with the World Professional Association of Transgender Health Standards of Care.
Mm-hmm.
Anyone under the age of 18 to go through sexual reassignment surgery.
Yep.
Oh, it makes me mad that they push this ideology that no, you can get it when you're a teenager. No. And honestly, I'm thankful for the fact that you have to wait till you're 18 in order to get surgeries because it gave me the time I needed in order to ensure that, this is what is right for me.
Yeah. Exactly. I have a story, if I can.
Yeah, go for it.
So I have this friend well, an acquaintance, not really a friend. So he is professional. He works in the medical field, but not like a doctor. Anyways, he has formal post-secondary education in the medical field and has a multi-million-dollar company. And he one day shared with me this video from I think a W5 or some sort of like news magazine show about this I think 8-year-old transitioning, and he sent me this. I can see they are performing surgeries on children. They are blah blah blah. All that misinformation that's going around out there. So I stopped. You know what? Like a lot of times when I get sent these videos, I don't want to watch because it just drains me. Like
Yeah.
the anger and the just drains me. So I decided, you know what? I will watch it. I watched it. And you know what? They talked about social transition and not having any medications until they're much older, like past 16 going on to 18. So socially transitioning kids is not surgery, is not necessarily puberty blockers or HRT.
No,
It's
yeah, a child
transitioning.
has to be at least 13 before they can be put on puberty blockers, unless they show signs of early puberty.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And the only time you can access proper hormones before you turn 18 is if you're 17 and your parents consent and you have 3 doctors approve it. 3 doctors that you have to talk to for a fucking year.
Yep.
And you have to be identifying as the gender that you want to transition to.
Yeah.
Ah.
But and like my whole point is that this guy who is well educated and is a important, I guess, economical contributor to our society. I don't know how else to say it. Who I think, who I thought, I don't think he's not intelligent, but he's intelligent, and he's an important contributor to our society, who has fallen for this misguided misinformation, disinformation that comes from the right. And it's very easy for these people, and he didn't even watch the video, or maybe if he watched, he was just like, had it off in the back, because he didn't pay attention, because they said socially transition several times. And well, actually, do you want to maybe explain what social transition is, just for our viewers? Because I know. Oh.
Sorry, I was trying to unmute myself and it was glitching a bit. Okay, so I started to social transition when, I guess, when it really started would have been when I was about 14. So my hair was cut short. I'd tell everybody that, I was genderqueer. What you saw that day is what you could call me. It didn't matter. Uh, 2 years later, I came fully out of the closet as trans masculine. And basically, it's changing how you present yourself to society. So, in my case, it was wearing chest binders, wearing men's clothing, stopping wearing makeup, having my hair cut short, and not trying to force myself to do the girly things that my family wanted me to do. Like, I will fully admit, I still do like dresses because there's a certain amount of freedom that comes with them. But I will not necessarily wear them out in public because that's not how I want to be perceived by everybody.
Yeah.
And it wasn't until 2021 that I finally started my medical transition.
Mm-hmm.
It was after I had had my children because I did I'm going to do what is considered one of the most feminine things on earth, and that's to be a mom and to carry a child. If that didn't feel right, then this obviously wasn't a damn phase, and I could shove it in my parents' face.
But sorry, go
Most
on.
women, when they're pregnant, love the feeling of being kicked. I hated it. I love my children. I love that I have them. I absolutely hated being pregnant.
Mm. Yeah. And I just want to highlight, like social transition means like maybe choosing a name that best matches your identity,
Yeah.
using pronouns that best matches your identity. Maybe
Your external experience, like clothing,
yeah,
is who you are inside.
yeah, exactly. So like, if let's say someone who's 12 years old decides to socially transition, and then when they're 14 recognize that
No, this is wrong. Which does happen. Like, yes, I will admit that does happen. In most cases, when that happens, it's a child that's faced an assault of some sort.
Yeah.
Or don't necessarily have a great life at home.
Mm-hmm.
And it gives them a sense of control. The only reason why I say I know this happens is my elder sibling went through it.
Okay.
Before I came out. And being completely honest, the way my mom reacted to me coming out, doing you see this face? Do I look surprised? I was shocked because when my elder sibling came out, they dug their heels in, were against it, wouldn't buy them boys' clothes. So I was really, really nervous about the idea of coming out.
Yeah.
Because of watching that. Seeing us out, we got a little over a half hour left. Do we want to save the rest of this for our next show and invite people up to come talk and possibly share stories?
Let me just quickly look, because there was something Oh, there's a couple more here points. Yeah, we could continue next time, with the rest of this and open it up
There's a
to
lot.
people.
Okay.
All right, so if anyone who's watching us now wants to come up,
Have any questions or want to share stories of your own personal life and experiences when it comes to interacting with people in the 2S LGBTQIA community, or if you're 2S LGBTQIA yourself. Sasquatch.
This was very informative. This was very like information heavy. Before I talk, my iguana has been listening very intently. He has a lot to say about gay and trans kids. We have some very wonderful gay and trans kids in our life that we love very, very, very much. And he's been listening, shaking his head the whole time. And yeah, oh yeah, we watch a lot of RuPaul at our house, so he's very it's very funny. Like when he's listening to certain lives, if Indigenous people come up, or gay or trans or anything with like kids being safe, he's over there shaking. I'm like, I know they can't see you. I'll tell them. Just wait. I promise. I'll let you talk to them. Okay, you tell them. So he was very he's very political. Yeah, he's very liberal and very political, and he just wanted to put his 2 cents in there. So I'll leave it at that. I've clogged up your chat this whole live, so if Jana wants to talk, she can totally go ahead.
Oh, that's sweet. I just put my cat up because I'm competitive. No,
well, it's pretty cute. I don't know. I think it's a tie. We've got like
It's a
3
very
cute
cute
cats and an iguana,
cat.
so I think we're at a pretty good
nice.
stalemate.
Yeah, I have 2 cats and a dog. But the
Nice.
dog is harder to get on camera. She's erratic. She's a little, well, not little actually. She's a lab pity mix. She's not little. Anyway,
Oh, pity.
yeah, love her. She's an Alberta special, is what they call them, because she's a rescue dog. Yeah, she's a doll. So, yeah, what I was going to say is thank you for highlighting some of that stuff, especially the, well, not especially, but as a female, the anti-abortion stuff, because PP lies. He's been very careful how he says things, and what he said is that he personally will not bring it forward. That doesn't mean one of his MPs isn't going to, right? That just means he's not going to do it himself. So it's really important to pay attention to that. And I wanted to talk a minute about the transgender and Danielle Smith. I don't know if either of you are from Alberta, but she passed a policy that was very anti-trans that I thought I'd just bring up because I'm scared it'll like if she's willing to do that and she's PP's buddy, let's face it, where is it going to go next? And she took away children's rights to hormone blockers in Alberta.
Yeah, she passed 3 bills in total that affect trans children. Their ability to participate in gym class and school sports. Their ability to come out in a safe environment at school. And their ability to access hormone blockers. But this also affects cisgender children, not just trans children. I've done a lot of research into it because I've been keeping very much on top of it. I have a friend who's non-binary that's from Alberta who keeps me up to date on all that stuff because it's terrifying.
It is, because she's the wave that's coming. That attitude is what PP is about. And that scares me. I have a child that is LGBTQ, and it worries me greatly. And not even just mom. I have friends and acquaintances, people in my life that are quite a few people actually in my life that are LGBTQ, and I don't understand why she's targeting trans so hard, other than it's something to get people on board with, to just spread that hateful message, right?
Yeah.
And
it's using a fear-mongering tactic that doesn't actually affect a large enough amount of the population to get everybody else on her side, which is stupid. Because trans and LGBTQ people should not be used as a political tool.
And that's exactly what they're being used as. That's a really good way of putting it. It's just a tool to gain favor. Basically, she's telling you that there's a problem that there really isn't. Trans people, you're less than 1% of the whole population is trans. We're not talking.
And not to mention the whole ideology of, hormone blockers are dangerous. No, they're not.
No, and I don't know if you're familiar with Lainey. They're an American TikToker. They run Defense Trans is what they run under. And I love watching Lainey because they're very educational. And I went on their show because when Danielle Smith did all this, I was posting about Danielle Smith a lot, and people And one of the questions I ask people, and they say, Daniel Smith rocks, you know, that kind of response to my posts is why? Like, what is Daniel Smith done for the average Albertan? Is basically the question I ask. What has she done to help the lives of the average Albertan? They come back with the trans issue every single time because they got nothing else.
Yeah. And it's funny because, like, and two, the idea that children are being surgically transitioned, no, it is not allowed, and nobody else can determine the legislation around it other than the federal government, because the federal government is in, they're in alliance with the standards of care for transgendered people across the world.
Yeah, it's frustrating because she made a law that you couldn't have surgeries before 18. We know that you can't have surgeries before 18. So she literally made a law that doesn't need to exist just to look like a hero. And she's implying that you could. By making a law that you can't, she's implying that you could.
No, and like even myself, like, because before I had my kids, I had looked in to see if I could go start my surgical transition anywhere in Canada. No, it's all across the board. 18. You're not allowed surgery unless you're 18.
Exactly. It's like if she passed a law that you can't buy cigarettes before 18. That's already a law.
Yeah.
So what do you accomplish?
See, here in Ontario, you have to be 19 in order to be able to buy.
Michael 19 here too. It's been a while since I smoked, so.
I can say something about that real quick. Yeah, it's 19 all over, other than Alberta.
Thanks, Dirtman. But did you want to add anything, Dirtman? I've been going on.
I'm just listening right now, seeing if I can have anything to really say. But one thing is, I didn't really understand a lot about the trans community before I started making trans friends, and from meeting them, I've learned so much more than what the media wants you to see about them.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah,
like
we tend to get demonized and talked down about, and that we're somehow predatory because we want to change our gender.
Yeah. What? I was just going to say thank you for doing this show and being open to having these discussions, because this is the kind of stuff that can change minds.
Mm-hmm.
It's just because people that are against trans, I don't think they know anybody trans, most of them. I think that they're making it's fear-based and making a lot of big assumptions.
Yeah. No, and Treaty 6 mentioned in the comments that Daniel Sith, as I call her, Marlena, since she changed her name, made this a whole parental rights issue. Mm-hmm. And like many parents treat their kids as a possession, and making this a parental rights issue just makes it seem like parents have to, exactly, and that's what they're doing. Like I said before, it's I have a candy, come in my van type of technique. They're baiting you with the parental rights.
Yep.
But once you get sucked in there, the van door closes and you're off.
Yeah, and he's saying that the parents didn't have rights in the first place. This should be a discussion between the doctor, who is a specialist in this area, and the family, the child and the parent.
Because the
government has...
Even to get hormone replacement therapy, you have to go see an endocrinologist, which is a hormone specialist that carefully monitor your levels to ensure that nothing goes wrong. They ask you consistently on how your moods have been affected by being on HRT. Mm-hmm. And they ensure that you get the best standard of care and it doesn't cause any other issues. Because, yes, there are some side effects with HRT
mm-hmm.
that, depending on your predisposition to cancer, it can cause a higher chance of you developing it.
And then all that information is given. And it should be a family choice. The government shouldn't have a say in this particular issue. It should be between the child, the doctors who are specialists in their areas and know infinitely more than Daniel Smith. And...
And I don't know, I agree with the, nothing more than puberty blockers, at least till the age of 16. And then you have to identify as the gender that you want to transition into for at least a year to 2 years, depending on the province, before you can access actual HRT and surgical treatments.
Yeah, exactly. Let the medical professionals who know, and the mental health professionals who guide through this too.
Yeah.
They're the ones that know their clients and their situations and what's safest for them. What worries me in Alberta is that I'm worried the suicide or unaliving rate might go up among children who are trans.
Oh, that's almost a guarantee with what they're putting in place. There's also the chance of parents unaliving their children that are overly religious.
Because now the schools have to out their kids.
Yeah. I just want to mention here, it's not in Canada. It doesn't have to do with kids, but it just highlights how much of an impact passing these laws just impacts the community in general. So there was a trans person, a trans veteran in the States who was the first veteran to transition.
That was non-binary.
Yeah. And they decided...
I have a video of her note.
Yeah,
She left.
they decided to... not decided. I mean, it's not like a clear decision. They unalive themselves because of this anti-trans movement and all this misinformation. Which, that's an adult.
Yes.
What do you think kids are going through?
Exactly. Like we're not doing anything to protect children if we're doing something.
No, if anything, we're putting them in more danger. Because, I know when I had come out in high school, had they had to forcibly out me to my dad, I would have been kicked out a lot younger than what I was. At the age of 16, when I officially came out to my dad, 2 days later, I was on the streets.
I don't know.
Because he didn't want me in his
Yeah.
house. My stepmother, absolutely horrendous woman. I call her the evil, wicked witch kind of thing.
Danielle Smith,
Because,
she has a stepchild. I'm just kidding. Go on.
And when I started talking about my transition and stuff, again, after having my kids, within 5 minutes of me making a post thanking people for being supportive, I got text messages calling me a terrible mother, that I was selfish, that a whole slew of other names.
And can I ask a question? It's personal, so you don't have to answer. But how are your kids with this? Like, how much do you choose to tell them?
They're great.
Yeah.
They tend to go back and forth between calling me mom and dad. Or they'll look at me and go, "You're the best mom ever because you're my mom and my dad."
I love that.
That's adorable.
And they ask me questions about it and why I'm doing it.
So you're very open with them. I think that's
And I'm
great.
very open with them. Even my 4-year-old asks questions, and I explain it as best as I can for a 4-year-old to comprehend it.
No, that's awesome. And I think that's probably the best thing to do is just be open about it, because it also gives them just knowing that they're safe too. If they feel that way, or if they're anything quote unquote different, right? That they're going to be comfortable telling you that. They're going to be comfortable telling you that they're LGBTQ, or that they have anything going on in their life, right? That they know you're a safe person to talk to.
I know most recently, my 7-year-old came home from school and he looks at me, he's like, "Mom, is it okay for boys to kiss boys?" And I'm all like, "Well, yeah, if they want to."
Yeah.
And he just turns around and yells over all the other students getting off the bus, "Mom says it's okay for boys to kiss boys, hate it."
I'm sorry for interrupting real quick. I'm on a res, and they're having a whole funeral corral right through here. Someone got brought back to the res. Oh, shit.
I don't understand, Birdman. What are you saying?
Like how indigenous people, they got found, they're having a whole, funeral, what's it called?
Oh, funeral. Yes, they found another.
Okay, for the missing and murdered indigenous.
Sorry for interrupting. I just really wanted to say that.
Do we know her name?
I don't, and that's my thing that's bothering me, is I'm really glad that they got brought back, though. Because I've never...
So there was Buffalo Woman, Ashley, and then there was one other that were found and are coming home.
Sorry for really interrupting. I just really wanted to say that.
No, it's okay, Dirtman.
It's all good.
So
It's an important thing to emphasize on. We need more premiers like Wab Canoe, who's willing to put the manpower into bringing home our missing and murdered Indigenous women and 2S peoples.
And also, we need more spaces to bring this awareness up. So, by all means, you know what? We're not gonna stop you interrupting if it's something important like that. So.
Okay. Yeah, I just wanted to say that I'm getting a little
Thank you,
bit.
Pumpkin Spice Latte, in the comments for giving her name.
So,
Know it.
so I wanted to just get back on to track for a moment. Actually, it has also to do with what Dirtman said. Kids learn hate. They're not born with hate, not born with judgment. They are born, not born, they learn hate. And they learn hate from their parents, from mentors like teachers, etc. And even like kids aren't supposed to be on social media, but sometimes they still get on social media or just like media in general. And that's why you see most children's shows these days are very open. And though they might not specifically have like an LGBTQ character, they make it, like, I don't know I forget which one I saw. But they teach inclusion, and a lot of the characters, they meet someone that's different to them, and usually the message by the end of the show is that the character learns to accept them and learns that difference and inclusion and diversity is good.
Yeah, like did you hear, for example, in the States, and I refer to the States a lot because I feel like that's what's coming here if we vote PP, right? Is that
That's
kind of
exactly
attitude?
what's going to happen.
Yeah, they want to get rid of Sesame Street. That's on Trump's cut list because it's too quote unquote woke. Sesame Street has always been the way that it is. Like they've always been. I grew up with Sesame Street. It was always incredibly inclusive.
Yeah,
They
they were
used
one of the
puppets
first
to-
children's shows to bring anyone who is LGBTQIA up.
Yeah, yeah, and he wants to get rid of it. And that is a show that was incredibly impactful for so many children growing up, and still is, I'm sure.
Oh yeah.
But it's this anti empathy agenda, frankly, that is terrifying to me. Even like Elon Musk has talked about empathy being the greatest scourge of the earth or something. I can't remember the wording he uses. But
Yes, then asked people for empathy when his Tesla dealerships were being set on fire.
yeah, exactly. The irony of it all.
And then those are the people who are pointing to the people on the left that we're being divisive. We're the ones who are dividing society.
Yeah, and that is not at all the case. Like we're just trying to make a world where if you want to be Christian and a Christian fundamentalist, you can do that in your own space.
Yeah,
And
everyone has the right to practice their own religions and beliefs. When you try to force them on other people, is a freaking no.
Yeah.
exactly, it's about not forcing that. And like even Trump passing, he's talking about passing some anti-Christian, or not anti-Christian, but basically that you can't say anything negative about Christianity. He's trying to build a Christian nation.
Yeah,
And
targeting pagan belief central religions and
yes.
stuff. Which is funny because it's never the pagans that try to force our religions on other people.
Yeah, they believe in freedom and they believe in being able to, do your own thing. It's one of the things I love about that religion. Or those practices, actually. I think they'd be called practices more than religions.
Yeah,
Witches.
Practices.
Well,
'cause
actually,
you've got Nordic paganism, you've got Greek paganism, there's Celtic paganism.
Yeah, exactly. There's a lot of different ones. And earth-based religions, which I find beautiful, actually. Like, there's so
Yes.
much in them.
And the whole point is being able to see the gods in your everyday.
Exactly. And being able to connect with them in a way that's different than what Christianity would teaches, which is through somebody, right? Like you.
Yeah. I personally am very much for the polytheistic faiths over the monotheistic Christianity and Catholicism. I was raised within the church, so there's a
So like Hindu and such.
good amount of religious trauma there.
Oh, definitely. And it can be like some people never work through it. A lot of people end up being atheists because they need to just dump it entirely. But there's so much to explore out there. Like I love religions. I don't love what they do sometimes, but I love.
Yeah. I
find them
think the
back.
best way I ever heard it put specifically when it comes towards Catholicism is the way my step parent had put it, and they said they're like, I have nothing wrong with Christianity or Catholics. I have an issue with the man-made fan group that follows it.
Exactly, exactly. It's what they like Christianity at its core. If you were raised Christian, you probably know a little bit about Jesus. Jesus would have loved you. Jesus would love everybody. Jesus
Yeah.
was not. I'm not saying that as in Jesus loves you. Like I'm not trying to pump it. I'm just saying
No, but
that.
that's the thing. Jesus's main people that he went to were prostitutes,
Yeah,
people who were queer,
yeah.
people who
Tax collectors,
had,
which were the bane of the world back then,
yeah,
they were
and
looked down upon.
the fact that like all these white supremacists in the states are quoting Jesus, and I'm just like, you don't follow Jesus. If you followed Jesus, you'd understand that one, Jesus died to rid the world. Oh, look at that! We reached the goal.
Oh wow! Thanks, thank you.
But one, he died to rid the world of all past and future sin, which means yes, there's still right and wrong, but nothing can be considered a sin.
Oh, that's an interesting take. I like that.
Not to mention, like, they all boast about Jesus, and like the picture that they praise as Jesus was Leonardo da Vinci's gay lover, who was the illegitimate child of the Pope.
Yeah.
Right? I know. Like, and if you actually read the New Testament, just read the New Testament. Don't listen to what other. It's beautiful, and Jesus was a beautiful person who loved everybody around him.
Yeah.
And I cannot see him as someone who would hate based on a sexual orientation or gender or
As
anything.
my grandparents, the ones that I was raised in the church, they've left the church that they were a part of because of the way the man made portions of the religion practices were interpreted. Because my grandfather is the one too that constantly preaches, no, if you believe in Jesus, then you have to love everybody.
Yeah.
You treat everybody as if they're you and how you want to be treated. The whole thing of love thy neighbor as you'd love yourself doesn't change if they're gay.
No.
And
I'll tell
I
you
just want to mention here too that I've heard certain historians mention that it's very possible Jesus was gay or bi himself.
Yeah, that is a very common thought.
And some believe he was married to Mary Magdalene, which might also be true because of there's certain aspects in the wedding. It's an I can't remember but he was probably married. Doesn't mean he wasn't LGBTQ too.
No.
But he was probably married to Mary Magdalene because of the amount of time he spent with her, and also the wedding where he made water into wine. That is something that is representative. That's something you'd ask the groom to do.
Yeah.
That was probably his wedding, because bringing wine to a wedding was always the groom's duty during that time period. And also he was considered what is the word for a Jewish teacher again? Rabbi. He was a rabbi. You cannot be a rabbi and be unmarried.
I didn't know
So
that.
there's a lot of little things in there if you investigate. That's interesting. And why they didn't want him to be married, I don't know. Because, see, Christianity wasn't invented by Christ. I've had this argument with people before. And Christ was Jewish. Jesus was Jewish.
And the Jewish church didn't like it because he went against their teachings.
Exactly. So a new religion was born, but it wasn't Jesus that made the religion. Jesus just is the center of the religion.
Yeah.
It was made by his apostles after he died. And they decided they wanted a patriarchal religion.
Yeah.
And
But if you think about it too, like Catholicism isn't technically a monotheistic religion. You got the Lord, the Son, and the Holy Ghost.
Yep. Well, and on that note, it's interesting because God in one thing says, "Worship no other god than me," which implies that there is another God to worship. If you think about the wording,
There's a lot of things that don't make sense in the Bible. Like I know specifically come the King James Bible, where it states that sexuality is a sin. Like if a man shall lie with another man, he should be stoned to death.
Yeah.
The actual quote is, "If a man shall lie with child."
Yeah.
Right.
And that's
Be careful with the language.
Sorry.
Oh, right.
TikTok
You don't want to get
is
taken down.
hypersensitive.
Yeah.
I was-
If a man shall,
Sorry.
It was kind of funny that was paid, like they paid a German translator at the turn of the 20th century to alter that part of the Bible.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because the King James Version is not the best interpretation because it is very patriarchally and yeah, there are better interpretations. The one I like is someone did the message Bible. I think is a very modern interpretation that is much better. And he actually went back and looked at the original texts, like Greek and what have you, interpreted from that. So.
Yeah, I just
My
want
grandfather,
to interrupt for a second.
Original Hebrew. Sorry, go, John.
No, Dirtman, did you want to say something?
I was gonna say that about that part in the Bible. There are so many people that will argue that, and I tell them, I'm like, it is, you are not thinking what it means when they say that, and they're no, and they just argue about it because that's their one point. They will on that hill.
Yeah.
My favorite thing to do is when they try to quote that, I'm all like, okay, so let's look at Leviticus.
Mm-hmm.
And I start quoting different sections of Leviticus, going, so should I follow this because you want to follow that?
Yeah.
And I think and I feel like they're misinterpreting it too because they often go to Sodom and Gomorrah. That's like where they have to go there, right? Every time. And if you, like, I've read that story, and if you read that story and listen for the actual narrative, it's about excess. It's about doing anything in excess. It's about living a party life. It's not necessarily about LGBTQ. It's about too much sex, too much drugs, too much alcohol, too much.
It's about gluttony, essentially.
Exactly. That's the main whole point of that story is about gluttony. It's not about hedonism, Sasquatch. It's about gluttony and hedonism and just living to party, right? It's not about LGBTQ. It comes up in it, but so does straight sex, so does drinking, so does, you know what I mean? Phone ringing.
Tell them later.
But but they use. I hate that they use the Bible for hate because Jesus would have hated that. Like he was
And like my grandfather consistently goes off on organized religion and how it's not great, and how most of the practices that we have that were used as a way in order to convert pagan people into Catholicism. So, like, our Christmas tree at Christmas time, that's a pagan ritual. My grandfather goes on this massive spiel every year when my grandmother puts up the tree that it shouldn't be in their house because it's not an actual representation of Christmas.
The eggs and rebirth. It's and the fact, it's all.
It's Ostara, which is coming up soon, which means my mom and I will be most likely celebrating that.
Cool, I'm going to celebrate Ostara too. But it's fascinating the way that they've taken the beauty of some religions and just twisted the heck out of them, and that's what people do, right?
Yeah. My one friend in the States, his parents are like full blown religion, and he was planning on going to this trip and meeting up with someone, and they basically reamed him out, said if he is going on this trip, they're going to disown him, he's going to be damned, and like all of this. And I felt so bad for him because he honestly felt hurt by it. His brother will support him no matter what, but his parents will not support him no matter. And it's all because of their religion.
Yeah. And I mean, like, I just want to say, like, religion is of course fine. I'm atheist myself. On some days I might be agnostic, but if we use religion as a lot of the religious right is using right now, just bad things happen. Like they idolize a lot of religious people who actually weren't very good, like Mother Teresa. Everyone's like, oh, Saint Mother Teresa. Actually, is she a saint yet? I don't know. But everyone talks about, oh, Mother Teresa, how great she was, and she was a nun. But she wasn't all that great all around. There were, I don't know if we could use this word.
She forced vaccines. She forced religion for vaccines.
Yes, but not only that, she refused to treat people with STIs and said that we were not going to treat it, we'll pray for you.
Yeah.
They used praying as medication, which just these people just suffered until they died.
St.
Yeah.
Patrick.
And Gandhi, Gandhi had some was problematic. He was so amazing in some ways, but definitely a couple of seriously big issues with him. He was racist against black. He was anti-black, and I didn't hear about the essay of young girls, but that's possible.
Yeah, I heard that too.
Have you? Yeah, that one I hadn't heard. But
Yeah. And like St. Patrick's or St. Patrick's Day, it's about a man who tried to kill the heathen
oh
in
my
Ireland.
god, I didn't know that.
Sorry, unalive the heathen
Yep.
in Ireland.
So like a lot of these figures are just very like you take the good from them if there is good to take, but be aware of what what the bad was. Like Gandhi taught us a lot about how to protest, and certainly take those lessons, but that doesn't make him a perfect human being because he had some serious issues things that I would definitely not agree with him on.
So there's 10 minutes left of the show, so I just want to just remind everyone that sharing is caring and clapping is tapping. I would like it if we got to 25,000 taps or hearts or whatever by the end, but do what you can. In the last 10 minutes, I kind of think that what I would like to do, well, of course, if PC Native agrees, is just, I guess, I'll go through and have like a summarization of what we talked about today, and our final thoughts about that. So I think PC Native and myself will go last, but Jana, sorry.
That's okay.
If you want to go.
Let's see. Summary of my thoughts. Danielle Smith sucks. That's a thought. On so many levels, she's just such a horrible person. And I just needed to take a moment to say that once again. She was just literally yesterday, or was it Wednesday, down in the United States at a conference for a Christian alt-right fascist group, UProg, which if you've ever seen their website is terrifying.
The fact that she's talking
And
about
Ben Shapiro,
too.
I know. And she has a picture hugging, like not hugging him, but with her arm around him. It's, very cozy.
I want to post it onto Bigger Politics later if I can, but there's a video of Ben Shapiro just absolutely being put in his place by a trans man.
I'd love to see that. Put it on Beaver Politics if you can, definitely. And what else is there? PP is horrible. Don't vote for PP. He will take away your right to female reproductive health. He has voted against free birth control. He has voted against abortion. He has voted against all kinds of things. He is not for women, and he is on the same page as Danielle Smith with issues with LGBTQ2S+. So don't be surprised if you vote for him and he goes after the trans community and LGBTQ potentially.
Yeah.
What else do I got? Do your research. There's a lot of propaganda out there. That's not what we talked about, but I'm just going to say I addressed a couple of pieces of big propaganda yesterday from the PP party. And just if you actually are in here and you're like don't understand trans issues, follow some trans creators. Follow this show. Learn about it before you make decisions about what you believe. That's all we ask. Educate yourself for real, and educate yourself with people who are going through the experience.
Yeah. Well, thank you. Dirtman, do you want to go next?
I am trying to figure out. Hello?
Yep, we can hear you.
Okay, sorry, it wasn't activating for me. I was like, "What's going on?" Sorry, I'm still getting new to this stuff. Still doing more research into it. But yeah, like what sorry, I'm horrible with names. What the other person had to say is that like about PP and all that is I joined someone's live a bit ago and they were talking about them, and at first before I knew about PP and all this, I was like, oh yeah, like blah blah blah, good guy. And then it's like I'm learning more about this. And then when I joined this, someone offered to buy my vote for him. And I'm like, and they're like all anti. I'm like, why did you bring me up into here? Like I left immediately. But like, I could not like now knowing about what he stands for and what he is, I could not ever picturing myself vote for anybody like that, especially for my friends in the trans community and my friends in the LGBTQ community, that what he stands for is wrong.
Yeah.
And he should not have ever decided to get into any of that if he stands for that type of role.
Quickly, how much did they offer you? I'm curious.
They offered me $20 damn. $20, bro.
That is not enough to get me to vote
people
for
that
PP
support
ever.
PP are broke as F, so $20 was probably his whole allowance that his girlfriend allowed him to spend.
And $20 doesn't even give you like a full meal at McDonald's anymore, hardly.
Man, it would have cost me $20 to go drive down and vote for his ass.
Yeah.
God, that's funny. 20
$20 fucking
God, no.
I was laughing because I'm like, oh. I was like laughing. I'm just like I couldn't. I just like busted out laughing. I'm like, yeah, no, and I just dipped out of there, and I'm just laughing. I'm just scrolling. I'm like, I had to get off because I was literally about to piss myself. $20.
See, what I would have done is I would have said, yeah, sure, I'll take your $20, and then just not do it.
Yeah.
At that point, it's
Well,
karma.
I mean, I think that's also type of a crime, like rigging, like paying people to do that.
Yeah, it's vote tampering and stuff, which is illegal in Canada.
Sorry, I was getting a call now. So, Pasty, do you want to do your final thoughts?
I just hope people do the research, look into the actual, like, where the party stands. If you believe that the Conservatives are the best option that Canada has, and learn and understand that if you vote for the Conservatives, you're voting for people that will target, discriminate, and hurt women. You're voting for someone who will target and hurt and discriminate against the 2S LGBTQIA community.
Yep.
And that most of us would never do something like that. We would not do something that would inevitably end your ability and your rights to live the life that you want to.
Yep. Yep. That's perfectly said. Are you done?
Yeah. Sasquatch wants to come back up.
Oh. Okay. Just quickly, because we have a couple minutes left.
So I know that Dirtman is near me, and actually I did not know the missus was so close to me. So if the algorithm has brought anybody in our Prince George Peace riding, just know we have been conservative for 40 years. Enough. And John Zimmer, if anyone listening, it's a pretty small live because we're doing the daytime lives like yesterday. John Zimmer voted against that bill to make conversion therapy illegal, loudly, I might add. And with the Highway of Tears and the missing and murdered Indigenous women, he said maybe they should stay on the res and get a job, and that basically they were drunk and partying, and that's why they got killed. Yep. So if you are in that piece riding, please get out and vote that piece of garbage out. He's been in since 2011. He is racist, sexist. He is a bigot. He is against gay and trans people, and he's useless. He hasn't done anything. He cries about, oh, the softwood trade agreements. Well, boo-boo, I don't see you doing anything in 15 years. So the only platform he has is that he was a guy from Fort St. John. He was a welder's helper for like a year and couldn't hack it in the big boy blue collar job. So his claim to fame is not even good. So anyone, if you are in that piece, Prince George riding, Dirtman, I will help you register to vote. We got to get 40 years of conservatives? No. Yeah. Just no. Gotta go.
Hey, you got to pay me $20 to register.
I will. I don't care. I don't care. I'll buy us pizza and we'll register together. I don't care. That's what it gets. You can vote however you want, but you have to register. Yeah. I don't care.
I know. I'm just being a smart aleck.
just if there's anyone else in our riding, because we've had quite a few people in the northern BC in the last couple of days chatting. If anyone's in that area, let's go. We got to get rid of Zimmer. That's all I had to say.
And so first, I want to start my final thoughts by thanking Jana, Dirtman, and Sasquatch coming up and
Thank you.
chatting with us. It's very much appreciated. And I also want to thank everyone who hasn't come up, who's tapped and shared live or given us gifts. Everything helps. We want to get our voices out there to more Canadians to help educate and create awareness, not just for the 2S LGBTQ community, but in general for people who care for other people. You know, I mean, that's basically, if you know, what we're all about. I wanted to take a few moments also just to say that going along with Sasquatch, if you don't think your vote matters, it does. Trump won not because he won the most votes, but because I think it was over 70 million people decided not to vote. So you get you get off your butt, go vote, go register. There's not down there for me now anymore, but down at the bottom there was a link in that TikTok put up to register to vote for the Canadian election. Go and vote. We need people to get out and vote. That's one of the biggest issues, is people not voting because they don't think it's going to matter. It's going to matter, not just for your female friends or your 2S LGBTQ, but everyone will be impacted. The only people who would really not survive, what's the word I'm looking for? Thrive under a conservative majority government, or even a minority, are rich men, and mostly of the same color as skin as me, because that's how they plan to change Canada, just like how it's going down in the States.
Can I add something?
Yeah, of course.
So, like Sean said, our votes do matter. When we sit at home and we fall into the voter apathy and we don't get out there and vote because we think it doesn't matter, it then becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy.
Yeah,
the
exactly.
only way something will change is if we fight for it and we make our voices known. So even if you don't feel like anybody in your riding is representing you well enough, you can also choose to hand back a blank ballot, and that also goes into to show what's being voted for, and it doesn't end up basically as a vote for the person that we don't want in. It gets recognized as nobody was good enough.
Yeah. So just about what we spoke about today, we next episode, next Friday, we will continue. I thought we would have had. I thought we would have gone through this faster.
There's a lot.
Only our second and it's only our second episode, so this is a learning experience for us as well. But next, we'll start off with the Section K of their policy declaration. Today, we went through at least first half of the policy declaration.
Yeah.
Talked about how how it would reflect on the 2S LGBTQ community. You could take a look at it yourself. If you're going to read it, like I've said before, they use language that makes everything seem nice and rainbowy and pretty, there's all these underlining hidden agendas underneath, and they say that about us too. But the thing is that you just have to look at history and actions, and majority of the Conservatives have voted against 2S LGBTQ rights, have voted against women's rights, voted about feeding kids in schools, voting about helping Canadians through the pandemic, and there's also recently, as last couple months ago, they voted against, I don't remember the exact bill, but affordability, helping Canadians with affordability in Canada. Anyways, so before we go, yeah, I know it's passed, but you know what? Stuff happens. But yeah, I just want to remember that Our show, The Rainbow Connection, is every Friday from 12:30 p.m. to 2:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, or at close to 2:30 p.m. as possible. And there's also a bunch of other shows on Beaver Politics. You could go to our page just by clicking on the icon up there, and you can see all sorts of other shows that we have every day of the week. Most days, I think there's 2 shows a day now.
Yeah, there's generally one every evening and one every afternoon.
Yeah. So join us, or even watch it on YouTube, because now we are uploading everything on YouTube. So if you miss it, you can go watch it. I think that's basically covering it. Is there anything you want to add before I play the music on the way out?
No, I think that we're good. This
Good.
was actually really, really good. It flowed better this time than last week.
Yeah. Well, like I said, it's a learning experience. We'll get better and better each time. All right. Well, again, thank you, everyone. This is Sean, and
The Pasty Native. Wow.
we will see you next week.
With the mic in the room in her hand, she's sharp as a tack, more funny than most. But thinking she's a danger is one hell of a joke. She's a drag queen, but she ain't no drag. Lace up front with a pony in the back. People try and knock her down all the time, but in her high heels she's still 6'5".